Joanie Lemercier from AntiVJ. So I run the visual label AntiVJ, and we are now 7 artists and producers and music producers to work together on audiovisual projects.
Okay, so Joanie, we're gonna speak about one specific project which I know a tiny bit about. So the latest Flying Lotus in the Roundhouse.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting project. It was actually a collaboration with the musician and music producer Flying Lotus, and I think we got in touch about 6 months ago. I think he heard about our work and wanted to do something together, and we personally we were all like quite big fans of his music. It was really inspiring to work with him and like build this project from scratch. We had like many constraints, so it was interesting to just sit all around the table and see how we could make something that we could tour with quite easily. We wanted to do some projection mapping as well. We wanted to have some audio reactive content, real-time content. So we had to build like a software from scratch and like a whole framework to be able to like bring his music into the show and bring the visuals and the music together and have everything kind of connected with MIDI and audio analysis and that kind of stuff. So it was a bit of a stressful project because we didn't had much time to do the whole thing. But yeah, really interesting technically, artistically, and I think we're gonna have to work more on it, and like we want to redevelop some bits of it. But yeah, quite interesting project. And Julien was actually working on it, and he helped us to produce some content and work on the software as well. So it was nice first experience together as well.
Okay, so there was quite a few external people. So how easy for you is it to manage when you have to deal with because there was quite about maybe 10 people involved.
Yeah. Well, it's actually for us as a label, we all started in AntiVJ, the 5 visual artists. We all started working alone as VJs in clubs and festivals. So we were all like quite independent, and so when we started working together, we were actually already in different countries. So we kind of started building projects remotely, and we work a lot with internet, with Skype, with like all the different kind of forums and FTP stuff that you could use to make some kind collaborative projects remotely. It's always a bit tricky because there are things you can't really do remotely, like hardware test, rehearsal. So that's something you have to keep in mind, and that's why we had to get together at the end of the project, do some rehearsal in a studio. And but it's quite funny the way when we started AntiVJ, we worked remotely for many years, so we kind of have a kind of good method for it. But yeah, you have to get together at some point in the project, and we'll try to do that more often in the future, I think.
Yeah, of course, because you have sometimes like time zone difference, which doesn't necessarily make it simple, so it can add quite some extra difficulties.
Especially there was this guy Nikolai. He's from St. Petersburg. He's called Unk, and he's a really brilliant developer and visual artist. And he was in Russia, in St. Petersburg. I was in Bristol, so we had to communicate together. Flying Lotus was in LA, so we went there for a few days to work with him, but also like working with people in Frankfurt as well. Cal was based in Germany, so we had like Germany, St. Petersburg, Brussels, Bristol, and LA. So it's a kind of weird way to work together, but yeah, quite interesting. And you actually learned a lot from these experiences. You know what works, what doesn't work remotely. So yeah, it's very interesting anyway.
So yeah, what do you think are the biggest technical difficulties for this kind of project? Because you have a lot of you have like quite a lot of programmers, you have a structure to build, you have to have obviously hardware to project. And so what are the most big, and you have content to produce, some content is real time, some content is video production. So what you have there's quite a lot together. So what are for you the biggest technical difficulties about it?
Well, actually, we get really excited on the label. We get really excited about trying new things, and like I think from the very beginning of the label, I've always spent like most of my time doing some research and development, some tests. That's how I started the mapping. That's how I started doing stereoscopy as well. And now we're very much into real-time content and how to build some softwares and some new tools to change completely the way we work. But it's not really easy, and you have to make sure the deadlines are not too tight. And And yeah, on such a project, the Flying Lotus thing, we had so many variables, like the lights, like building the structure for the DJ booth, video projection and mapping, and audio reactive stuff and MIDI. So there were many things involved. I don't think any of these things is a massive, major problem, but I think it's when you have loads of things, you need more rehearsal time and.
It's when they're all together. It's like lots of little things which add up and make quite some big things.
But I think one of the big things we want to do next year and over the next month is to carry on building some real-time tools. Because at the moment we use like quite common 3D software like Cinema 4D or After Effects. And you can do nice stuff, but you have to wait for every single frame you want or anything you want to produce. You have to wait for the computer to be ready. And now with the technology and real-time tools, you can do pretty much the same thing, but you don't have to wait anymore. The only problem is you have to develop all these tools. They don't exist. You can't really find anything.
It's more complicated,
so
because you have like when you build real-time content, you have to worry all the time about frame rates. You have to care about performance a lot.
But I think that's something we want to push in the future, and probably the next big thing is going to be having this framework.
So do you believe the future lies more into real-time?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's a really personal point of view, but I think the future is GPU and real-time, and obviously all these other technologies like 3D tracking but yeah, I think real-time is going to change the way people produce visual content. Like I'm sure, like even web agencies and people making websites and now applications for iPads and iPhones, they're slowly moving from like web design tools to processing or Cinder or open frameworks. So I really think that in 5 years time, like open frameworks, V4, Quartz Composer, and all the other like similar tools are going to be the main, like they're going to play a lot in the game of like visual content.
So do you think it's going to be also in some ways difficult because some of the people, there's quite a lot of people doing animation on After Effects, but people doing real time are not necessarily that easy to find around. So that's quite potentially a challenge. And
but I'm sure like slowly people doing programming, and like I used to do websites myself like years ago. I used to do ActionScript and Flash, and that's how I started doing video mapping. I was just using Flash 5 at the time and as a tool to like map objects, and then a bit of ActionScript to animate things. But I saw the limits quite quickly, and now I moved to different tools, and I'm quite convinced that many web developers and developers are going to move slowly to these tools as well. And also I think the web is going to evolve a lot, and the fact that now you've got apps on loads of devices and it's part of your everyday life as well. I'm sure like these real-time tools are going to get much bigger and probably replace. It's a different thing, but I think Flash is kind of disappearing, and I'm sure like all these people, all the Flash developers are going to maybe move to open frameworks. So I think it's quite exciting future. But yeah, there's not many people programming in real time at the moment, not many experts, so it's the right time to try to find them and work with them because there are not many.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Cool. No worries. Thank you.